Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya. Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vrishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Mukam Garoti Vachalam Pangam Langayate Giram Vitkripatamam Bande Shri Guru Dinatarinam. Hare Krishna. Yesterday we were discussing about austerity and how leading a simple life one will get the mercy of the spiritual master and the Lord. Few days back we discussed about how the Vedas and the Upanishads, they take us, they give us the understanding that that is not the essence of everything. But when we think further about it, it is very clear that the process of going through Vedas, the process of going through Upanishads, the process of realizing that that is not the essence of everything, is a slow process. It doesn't give us the understanding quickly. Because when you do follow certain things as given by Devi Devatas, that gives one satisfaction materially, but that doesn't give any solace to the heart. It is important for us to not just come out of that temporary issue or a problem, or rather one should try to find a permanent solution for everything. I'll give an example. For example, if a person wants to construct or build a home and then live in that home, then generally they would go through the science of Vastu Shastra. And then through that Vastu Shastra, what they do is they will ensure that everything is correctly arranged, like as per Vastu Shastra, which is a very complex science. You have to please all the Devi Devatas. And then once they are pleased, then you construct the home based on that. And after that, you lead a life in that. So, this is like you're trying to water at every leaf. Not against the Vastu Shastra, it's a science. And whoever does not follow, they will either go through like financial problems, health problems, relationship problems, so many other problems of this world. So everyone would try to follow, especially who has that understanding, and so they lead a life which is like following some way following the scriptures. But even though the person who follows that everything, and then he doesn't have any material problems out of it, because he's trying to place the Devi Devatas. There are different Devi Devatas which do impact through that. And then after doing that, eventually he does his dharma, he follows. But again, in this, the dharma is the prescription which he has received through his knowledge and through his wisdom. And then after that, it has to be 100% accurate, which is kind of difficult to follow in that way. That means if you see any obstructions in that, again you see a delimiter, a check which been posted to us that you get to meet certain, or you get to have certain difficulties because it is not followed fully. Likewise with horoscope, it's also another science which is given in our scriptures. So when one follows horoscope, he can, by doing certain pujas or certain this, certain that, then he'll get some results out of it. But even that, if you see, it has to be done fully accurate. If it is not accurate, then again you will lose the thing out. Because what are we trying to do is we are trying to address a problem which is not addressing the problem in the root. You're trying to fix up few things. Because fixing up like this is a difficult process. Because what are we doing? It's a pious person. He's trying to do some pious activities, but still he's getting some problems or issues and the concerns in his life. And through that, what is he doing? He's trying to take shelter through Vastu or through horoscope. And then slowly he's trying to come out of that. But trying to coming to try to come out of that in this way is very, very difficult process. Oh no, please understand this. Now how certain things are very difficult in our life. It's very difficult because one should be very accurate and thorough in this, which people do follow. But again, as the Lord has orchestrated or designed this creation in such a way that even though we follow all of these things, still when the difficulties do come, He has no hope and shelter for that. Because He never came to the root. But eventually, these things, following of these things, will some life, this life or the next life or the next life, he will really understand that even though I'm doing these things, still there is a problem. So through that problem, what is happening is, through that problem, he will try to find the root. For example, the Vedas, the Puranas, and the Upanishads, they actually take take a person from one state to the other. But the person cannot be satisfied fully. Now, here that is a reason why the Lord wants. So when the person comes to to the process of hearing from Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, which is the essence of everything, when one comes to that state, then he will understand the root problem. Then he will try to figure out what is really my problem. Otherwise, one cannot even figure out where and why the problem is coming. On because on the other side, person will go through being fruitive because all of these things he's doing it out of some he actually expects some out of it. If at all I do this, I will get this. If at all I do not do this, I do not want this. So please try to understand that the nuances which we have seen in this world through the association of our parents or friends who have faith on those principles do also show that there is some person who is actually controlling. This is also another way to really understand that we are really not the whole and soul proprietor of this, because there's something who's running in the background. You might not know who that person is right now, but through this process they would understand that there is something, there is some higher picture. But that clarity doesn't come unless and until one meets a pure devotee or comes in that association. Because that is our only hope actually. What is our hope? To follow and then the practice. Because these are all the things these are all the hurdles one has to pass through to come to the process of Krishna consciousness. Now, does everyone goes through that? That is also not the right answer, that everyone will go through that. Some through the association, it doesn't have to come, it doesn't have to go through. Now, there is a question here. The question is, when the sadhaka comes to the process of Krishna consciousness and then he tries to practice devotional service, and then through that practice, he has so much opulences. There's good home, this, that, good family, a good earning, so many things are going. And on the other side is also practicing the science of Krishna consciousness. So a question will come, when the sadhaka is in a comfort zone, leading a life, making a livelihood, and also practicing whenever he gets an opportunity. That means he is actually bringing the Lord into his life, which is no doubt it is a good process. But through that comfort zone, he is not extending, or he is not performing, or he is not putting the next step. To advance more in the science of Krishna consciousness. Then what is the hope and scope for that person? Now, how can he really take up this science? Because he's taking, but he's not fully taking. He's accepting, but he's not fully accepting. He's doing, but he's not fully doing. Because he is in a zone. Or he might even have certain reasons that this is not working in this way, or that the other thing is not working in my way. If things will work in my way, then I'll take up this process. I've seen devotees also telling this, no, I should have proper arrangement. I should have everything properly listed. Then I'm going to take up this process. If I do not have those things listed, then I cannot take up that process. This also we do see. Please understand this. Everything has to be rightly arranged for me. If not, I will not take. Now, that is also one of the reasons. But is that desire very deep? No, these are all not deep desires. These are all like shallow desires. So, another question Please try to think this. This is very, very important what we're discussing. Because if the sadhaka is always staying in his zone of actions and activities and then practicing Krishna consciousness, then where is the hope of making advancement? This is a question. How and when the soul will come to that state? So there are two ways of taking this thing. The first way of taking this thing is, if the sadhaka gets difficulties, the sadhaka is practicing and he gets difficulties in his life. Now, through the difficulties, he is doing what? He's taking shelter. That means if the difficulties are coming, then he takes shelter. Because at that difficulty, he's realizing that yes, this is the only thing. I need to practice this science. There's no other way for me. My dear Lord, please help. Give me an opportunity so that I can really take shelter. Okay, that is one way. But through our pious activities, we go through so many pious activities. We do so many pious things. We are leading a life of simplicity. When that pious activities are going, then the difficulties will take little time. That means there is no guarantee that difficulties will come in one's life, in this life. It can come in the next life. But again, in the next life, even though we are pious, we might get a human form of life, but we don't know. We do not have a guarantee that we will get an association of a devotee where we can practice. There's no guarantee for that. So that means the ruling out or practicing Krishna consciousness when I have difficulties, at that difficulties only I'll take this process seriously. That might work or might not work because the difficulties might come. Yes, definitely we do get difficulties, but we also have solutions for that. We have solutions materially for that. We don't have to. There is no guarantee that when difficulties do come in sadhaka's life, he will take the solution from Krishna consciousness. He might or might not. It depends on his faith. There's no guarantee. There is no scope that he will really take shelter. But when one takes the association of a pure devotee and hear about the acharyas, then what happens is, when he continuously hears, obviously his consciousness is different. And then the moment when the difficulties come, the Lord who is present in the heart is very pleased with his acceptance of this process. Then he will actually give that mercy so that this devotee will take more shelter of the Lord. This devotee will take shelter of the instructions of the acharyas, core to the heart. And then he will never stray away. Because what is he doing? So right now we might not have difficulties today. We might not have difficulties for the next 5 years. We don't know, just giving an example. But after 5-10 years, we might go through some difficulties. Because as this material nature is designed, the material nature will not keep us every day in the same situation. So please understand, we might go through certain problems or issues or concerns or difficulties or this, that, so many other things. But when we hear and then when we try to understand the truth, then what happens is, through the difficulties, we take shelter of the pure devotee. And then when whatever they are giving us the solution, and then when we follow and then abide to that, oh, that is the real protection. Even though the difficulties are not going, but when we take that shelter, when we take that association, when we submit ourselves to the Lord, to Krishna, then what happens is He gives the strength to come out of the difficulty. We see through the life of various Vaishnavas, Vaishnava acharyas. Parikshit Maharaj really has a difficulty. But if you see his momentary acceptance of the process, he is just accepting the situation. A person named Shringi, he cursed him. But what he did, he accepted that. And he took what? He took the shelter of a pure devotee. Took the shelter of the spiritual master. Now in his heart, the Lord, because he is very pure, the Lord told him, please take that association. Hare Krishna. My question will come there also. Why only Parikshit? Why only Sukadeva Goswami Maharaj? Why? How come Parikshit Maharaj realized that Sukadeva Goswami Maharaj is a source? Bhagavatam teaches that also. If you actually see, before Parikshit Maharaj taking the shelter of Sukadeva Goswami, he was actually asking all the saints who are there, can you please help me what I should do with the fact? He's asking some questions to them. But the saints, they were unable to because they were not inspired from the heart within. Because the Lord knows that this is the moment where Bhagavatam has to be manifested. And then Sukadeva Goswami is readily available for that. He's coming, he came to this world just for that. And then we do not have any trace of what happened to him after that. So what am I trying to say is, through the difficulty, what happened is Parikshit Maharaj took the association. Immediately, he gave up everything. And then he took that association. Because this is what he learned all through his life, and that is what he practiced all through his life. The greatest difficulty is what for us? Death, old age, disease. When diseases do come, it gives us an indication. Yes, I was thinking something, but something else manifested. Like you're planning to do a service, and then all of a sudden you become diseased. Your health is not good, fever, this, that, so many other things, so many complexities. And then you are unable to do that, but you aspired for doing it, but now you are kept in a situation where you cannot. That means what is happening is the goals have changed. Again, dynamically, you need to prepare the next, what you're supposed to do. Because things will not shape up in the same way, dear devotees. It will not be like that every day. It will change. Now, this is the reason why we discussed yesterday that one should be very simple at one's heart, free from duplicitous nature. When that is manifested, that is very dear to the Lord. Because what are we doing? No matter what situation we've been kept, we are trying to take shelter. Following in the footsteps of these previous acharyas. Dharmasatattvam nihitam guhaya. Following in their footsteps. When that is manifested, then our thought process will completely change. That's why the Shravana is so powerful that when we hear on a daily basis, what happens is they go and then sit in one's heart. And then when there are situations, they come out. I remember a spiritual master telling, he says, all the time which we are doing, the Shravana and Kirtana, these are all extra. This is not part of our life. He says, for example, even if a person is about to leave the body, if he is hearing, at that moment, The Yamadutas who come, they have to stand out. Even though he was very sinful, they have to stand out. That means the time is extra. Because when we chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. When we take up this process of Hari Ram Sankirtan, when we hear, when we chant the holy names, this thing is the greatest benediction actually. In which way this is the greatest benediction? Which we discussed today, right? We go through so many Vedas, Puranas, we do that, there's so many other things, try to figure out this, try to figure out that. And then when difficulties come, then one will take up the process. It's like a slow process. Very, very slow process. It will take few lifetimes. But when one submits and surrenders to the instructions of the Lord and fully follow his teachings as it is, and then when one chants Hare Krishna without any offenses, then this person's progress is very quick. Very, very quick. It's no longer a slow process. It's a fast, quick process, which will elevate one from one state to the other state. Without his understanding, they are devotees. We have no clue actually. Because yesterday we were discussing about this, where a devotee stays in one state, and then without his intervention, through the association of a pure devotee, what happens is his consciousness is completely elevated to the other state. Within few years, he starts thinking, Arey, what am I doing? My state, I should surrender. My Lord, what am I wasting this human form of life? I've been engaged in so many other things of this world. What is that giving to me? It is not helping me anything in any way. Let me do this. Let me take this association more and more. Let me submit myself. That's what Arjuna realized within few moments of conversation, within half hour. Actually, not even within half hour. The moment Krishna reciprocated in second chapter, Arjuna was convinced that this is everything. That convincing in a sadhaka's life will come when he becomes serious in the process. Very serious in the process. Because the seriousness is actually one of the indications, or we are showing to the Lord that, my dear Lord, I'm not interested of anything else here. I'm only interested in this. And we tell, my dear Lord, I tried so many things, but nothing worked with me. But this is working. How? Because I'm trying to follow. Whoever tries to follow, it works for him. Yesterday, a question was being asked. What was that question? Is, how do I know that this is working for me? You put those teachings in action, and you will realize. Just like a person who's hungry, Prabhupada says this, if a person who's hungry, if he accepts prasad and then if he eats, then his hunger is satisfied. He's fully satisfied. He has no issue with that. Because he is hungry and then he ate food. That goes to the stomach and then that nourishes the body. And then it gives the feeling that I'm satisfied. Because what he did, he's not watching the prasad from distance. He's not just watching, but he's also honoring it. Just watching is what? Is watching, just watching is we are trying to do an action, but we never did the action. Likewise, when the sadhaka puts those things, those teachings into action, then he'll see the difference. really see the difference. Because now what is he doing? He's putting in action. For example, we hear, let us see good, or let us respect the other devotee. If you put it in action, then you see the results. Just a simple example. So that acceptance should come in one's life. So all the Vedas and Upanishads, the Puranas, should lead to Bhagavatam, to Gita. You might have practiced these things in the previous lives, or we might not. It is a mere association which is pulling us there, that this is everything. Now, that consciousness one should establish, should understand that why I am unable to do or take up this wholeheartedly. These are the questions which we need to ask. Parikshit Maharaj asked that. He asked this very important question. Are, what a person should do when he is about to leave his body? What is the most important thing one should aspire for? Direct question. Not just him, for everyone else. And then he says, the answer, Mahat Seva. Serving pure devotees, acharyas, and taking the instructions of the Lord and then following them. That one should aspire. That one should do. Just see here, simply by hearing, he received everything. He was asking questions and receiving the answers. Questions and answers. All 7 days. Because that's the only time he had. And he has a guarantee that he will live for the next 7 days. But we might not have that guarantee. We are living, but we don't know. We don't know how much time we have. So the process has to be taken fully. That is the way. Because through that way only, what happens is elevation. Slowly, slowly, sadhaka is elevated more and more. It continues to take. He should never turn back. Turning back is what? Is losing our identity. We have already lost. We have already lost. Now we are trying to figure out that. Very important. This we need to think more. Hare Krishna. So I'd like to stop here. Anyone would like to add anything? Any questions? Anyone has any questions? Let us see if anyone wants to add anything.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to
Hare
Srila
Krishna.
Prabhupada. Prabhuji, it's it's related to my life. Like difficulties will come, but when we surrender to Guru and Krishna, it will be easier and to overcome this. And acceptance is definitely important. Whatever the situation comes in life, and difficulty might arise from material life, definitely, which can hinder the spiritual practice, but we can accept the situation whatever I have. But if I surrender and depend on Krishna and Guru and Krishna, then definitely I'll be able to overcome that. And also, Prabhuji, what you said about the acharyas, hearing about acharyas and surrender to their surrender to them. Actually, that consciousness, if we surrender to them with whole heart and with faith, without any doubt, their consciousness will come to us, and with that consciousness, we'll be able to practice continuously, and we'll never feel like it's boring or it's too will not go away from that. And that helps, Prabhuji, because few things like previously I used to have like 4 5 years ago, um, something like we are Bengali. I'm Bengali, so our Durga Puja is a big festival for the Bengalis, Prabhuji, and so and I used to go there, like participated, not like just go participated, um, do program etc. But now Prabhuji, I don't feel like to go to that I do not feel to go to take that association, and uh, so just to go and give like a temple, just go to the temple and take the darshan and come back, that's it, because she is Yogomaya, she will give us Krishna bhakti. So those things happens, a lot of changes happens to me, Prabhuji. So that's why I just would like to share. And
Thank
thank you,
you.
Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you for sharing that. Because the process is very straightforward and simple. If we understand how the transformation of Arjuna happened and how Acharyas like Parikshit Maharaj took the shelter, Acharyas like Srila Prabhupada, pure devotees, when they take the shelter, and it's a clear indication that this process it काम करता है, it works. We've seen so many devotees, their life got changed, transformed very nicely. I have so many examples, live examples. They took the process core to the heart. They have changed so much unbelievable actually, unbelievable how they transformed their consciousness, their heart, unbelievable. So the more when one aspires that association, when one remains in that association, and then continuously tries to put those actions, put those thoughts into actions, and he'll see a lot of changes. Yesterday we discussed about Deenabandhu. Now that small boy is actually taking the association of the Lord, and then when a difficulty came, he actually submitted himself. This is the situation. Can you please help me in the situation or circumstances? And then the Lord reciprocated. So likewise, for us, seeing or presence or seeing the presence of the Lord is through His instructions, is through their words. Now, when we take that, when we associate in that way, when you see reflections, realizations, understandings, or without our knowledge, we come out of those things. And then the moment we realize that, oh, I'm away from this, that is how the mercy flows. The mercy of the Lord. The mercy of the Lord flows through His devotees. It's very, 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 very important. So that is a indication. So to what we discussed, when the difficulties do come, when we have this association taken nicely core to the heart, and then all of those things are there, then that difficulties will give us a way to take the shelter more, and then through that taking shelter, we come out of that. We are not taking shelter anything materially, but rather we are taking shelter spiritually. Because it depends again on the faith, what we are doing. Through that faith only one will get the results. Very, very important. We'll continue our discussion tomorrow. Thank you all very much. Let us all offer our humble obeisances unto all Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who are justly desirous, who can fulfill the desires of everyone. They are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Vancha kalpatarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya vacha patitanam pavanebhyam vaishnavebhyo namo namah.